Okay, so Miss Lily, what I want to ask, my question is very simple. There is an idea, and your niece or your cousin is of this idea that the people who are claiming to be Indians now, who live on the reservations, they are fraudulent. They have taken the identity of the true Indians, who are the people who we call African Americans in the United States. Are those people on that reservation fraudulent? And are black people, Negroes like me and your cousin, are we the real Indians and those people fraudulent?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Me, my generation will come back behind, because my grandmother, she was married to a white man.
I love to talk to black folk about family history, because you really get to see sort of what they value in terms of their family lineage. Like, most African Americans have some level of white ancestors in their family. You don't hear much talk about it.
No,
they'll claim Native American before they claim European. You know what I'm saying? My mother had good hair. Well, it wasn't because it was Native American. It was because you had some white ancestor, and that's why the hair was straighter than.
And she had to when the children were out different places. My grandmother left to stay, and the one that were out going different places, they had two boys, and they went out different places, lived. But now, some of my mother peoples, they was some American Indian too. But I can't tell you. Only thing I can tell you is what my people say about Indians. But I've never been that close to Indians.
Okay. Okay, I understand what you're saying. So basically, you are going off of what you were told, but you never really interacted with Indians or anything like that.
No.
So who did you interact with? Who did you primarily interact with in your younger years?
My younger days, my cousin and my auntie.
And what color were they?
Some of them were white, some of them were black.
Were the black ones Indians?
No. Some of them were white, some of them were black. No. I haven't seen no Indian.
When you were young, was there a clear distinction between a black man and an Indian, or were black men Indians and Indians black men? Were black men and Indian the same thing?
No, I don't know, because I was never been no close to nobody but my grandmother. My grandmother, she never did do a lot of talking about the Indian people.
Okay, I just want to know, like, when you would see a black man on the street, did people walk around and say, "Oh, that black man is Indian," or was that black man considered an African?
I never heard of that. I actually tell you the truth. In the generation, you got all race in our family.
Okay.
You can't do one for the other one. That's why they have families to go different cities and have family reunions.
Right.
Or meet up with their family.
So the families were all mixed up. Okay, thank you so much, Auntie. That's all I want to ask you. I appreciate you giving
Why
us
you
the
don't
time.
ask her what Grandma Eula was?
That's how I started learning different people in my family, because I was born down in Alabama, and when I came here to California, I got to learn a lot of different things, but I didn't know see it, never knew it when I was in Alabama.
Right. I understand what you said. Thank you so much for your honesty. I appreciate you giving us your time. You have a nice day, okay, Auntie Lily?
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm Brandon, ma'am. I'm just a little nothing, nobody African, just trying to find out about my history.
You from Africa too?
Well, I'm just a black African American. My family came on the slave ships back in the day.
Well, that's what a lot of our people talk. They like me. See, if I want to really be, I'll be Spanish. But I don't want to be Spanish because when I got here in California, I wasn't speaking. I speak English to people around me saying, "Miss Watson, why you talking Spanish? Because you ain't no black folks." I was not raised that. I was raised as black, and so that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so so black people, how did black people get to America? People like us, how did we get to America?
Someone come out to slave, to the ship thing.
Okay, so I just want to know, I like to get it from the mouth of someone who knows more than me, who's older than me. Thank you so much. I got to continue with my show.
Because you think you have, I don't know, because I really don't call myself that so important to all of it. But I do have a lot of black people today. A lot of my people mix white and black.
Right, white and black. Thank you. I'm going to continue with the show.
But not African.
Thank you so much for your time, okay?
You're welcome, honey.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye, Auntie Lily.
Okay.
Miss Ravioli, you got some explaining to do. This lady, come here. You lied, Miss Ravioli. You didn't really ask her. It doesn't matter. Listen, your grandma's niece just said that
What did
she
she
hung
say,
around
Brandon?
black people, and blacks and Indians were two different groups. And she said most of our people came here on the slave ship.
Okay, but you told her that Indians were Native Americans.
Listen, no, stop it, Lily. Stop it, Ravioli. Stop it. You're discrediting yourself.
No, I'm not. You told her, and you didn't ask her who Grandma Eula was, because she would have told you that Grandma Eula was Cherokee.
Your auntie has more
honesty. My cousin.
Your cousin is more honest than you. Your family is black. She said, she said you guys have white, black.
When you have a family tree, right? Let's just say you have a family tree, and you have your 4 grandparents up there. One of those grandparents is white, and everybody else is black, right? Those other 3 grandparents are black. You would say that you're 25% European. But when we look at the DNA of those individuals, it's right on. It's spot on. 25% European, based on the family history, based on the family tree. And so that's the cool part, is that, you know, when we supplement or compare the genetic information with the genealogy information, it's pretty much spot on. Now, unless somebody is adopted or something like that, or false paternity, that's a different story. But for the most part, it's spot on.
She exposed you.
She did not.
Listen, she did. She literally.
No, she did not, Brandon.
She said she never even been around no Indians. She said she
That's because those Indians are Native Americans. You asked her that right before.
Everyone knows the Native American and Indians. Listen, she said.
No, they didn't call them Native Americans. Oh my God, they did not call them Native Americans.
Miss Riley, go on.
Oh, now you talking. Now you want to play games. Now you don't want to argue because you don't want
to. Listen, bruh. Listen, your grandma, your auntie right here, your cousin just said y'all got. She said she doesn't even look black. She can pass, but she said
she looks. She looks
She said she
Spanish.
doesn't look black. She looks Spanish. She said, but she was raised around blacks. Her relatives was black. Her brother, she even said it. She said, and that's what she gonna act like. She said people tried to get her to change her identity and who she was, and she said no, she's gonna be what she's always been. That's been the case
Okay,
for me.
so you have to agree that she doesn't look African.
Listen, I don't know what she looks like, but she's even saying that she's the
She just
descendant of
you're
Africa.
just you're just talking about how she just told you she looked and what
She
people told
said
her.
she's
She
the
doesn't
descendant.
look African.
Yeah. She said our people came on slave ships. That's what she
No,
said.
she didn't. She said some
Oh
of
my God.
them.
Guys. Okay, Ben Yosef, you were listening to this with
Oh
me,
my
brother.
God.
Listen, hold on, let me mute you. Ben Yosef, please unmute your mic. Did you not hear that dear old lady say, our people came here on slave ships? Did you not hear her say that?
She said black
To tell you
people.
the truth, I can. It's hard for me to make it out. You know what I'm talking about? So I
Okay, then
can't.
I'm gonna mute you. Dark Afrocentric, dark side Afrocentric, unmute your mic, brother. Did you not hear this little beautiful lady say that our people came here on slave ships? I asked her, how did our people come to America? She said on slave ships.
You said
Dark
black
side,
people.
dark side, you still here? And look, Dr. Rick Kittle said, no, the other lady who started Ancestry with him, she said this idea that black people have Native American blood is just a way to cover up whiteness in their bloodline. She said black people want to hide the fact that they have white in their blood by saying that they have Indian in their family. And guess what? Back in the day, what did people say if they had a little straight hair? Oh, I got Indian in my family. No, Massa was down in them slave quarters getting busy.
What about the Native American blood? You know, typically in black families, you hear, my grandfather was Blackfoot or Cherokee. I got Native American blood in my family. When you,
as a community, we would claim Native American before European because of the experience that we've had, as the experiences here in America. And so that is one of the reasons why we end up saying that, and we perpetuate this over and over. And people got these pictures. Oh, look at my auntie, look at my grandmother, look at her high cheekbones. High cheekbones are in West Africa too. The Igbo people in Nigeria have high.
Come on. Or examine the DNA of African American people. Did you find a substantial amount of Native American ancestry in our DNA?
Not really. No, not as much as people say. I mean, folks love to say my mama got good hair and I got this Native American. We don't see it that much. I mean, in fact, it's in the African American population in different communities. Like for instance, in that 4-city study we did, I think the highest percent Native American was in New York and Harlem, and a lot of that was driven by Dominicans.
So this proved, I love older people. They're not gonna lie because they're not gonna make up a story. Your grandparents told you just like my grandparents told me. We can't share my grandfather, his daddy was a sharecropper. His daddy's daddy was a slave. And his daddy's daddy obviously came off of slave ships. You guys lie on your family, and that's not okay. You guys purposely misrepresent what they say so you can get the desired result and reaction.
Because I've been battling with folks, Dr. Kittles, online. They're like, the Aborigines were African. The Olmecs were African. The Mayans were African. The Aztecs were African. The mound builders were African. It was Africans or the Aborigines, So, Doc, and I see you smiling. You're chuckling over it. So, yeah. Doc, look. So that's what I've been hearing. And so, Doc, please tell me where, with your findings, when you analyze the DNA of the Native American people, right. Here, are they sub-Saharan African people?
No, they're not.
Our younger generation has been brainwashed by a guy who's selling false history. The older generation, thank God they don't have the internet, but they haven't been exposed to Dane's lies. That's it. But now, Auntie got to be alive because Dane can be right. Because this ain't Miss Ravioli's original understanding. She adopted this from Dane Calloway.
Some of you were like, wow, that's crazy. But that is the signature of the behavior. That's like the residual genetic signature of the behavior of white men on enslaved African women early in the history, and then the continuation of that after slavery. So white Y chromosome, European Y chromosomes, every generation are coming into the African American population. And it started, during slavery, the period of slavery, and we see it. We call it sex bias gene flow, meaning that the direction of genes from Europeans is coming from men more so than women. Okay, so we're getting, in terms of European genes, the contribution coming more so from European men into our population than European women.
But Dr. Kittles, is DNA a hoax, sir?
No, so DNA testing is not a hoax. It's routine genetic technology. When I say routine, I mean you just mentioned it. People are doing it in forensics. They're doing it for paternity testing. So this is all the same technology, and it is at some level what we call empirical, meaning that it's solid science. And if for instance you see a DNA profile at a crime scene, somebody put it there. Okay, that means that profile was there. You found it, and the science proves it. Now, the science doesn't prove if you put it there or somebody else did, but that's a separate discussion. But no, DNA testing is not a hoax. What's funny, we did a study, a bunch of colleagues and myself. We call it the 4-city study. We went to Harlem, New York, Washington, D.C., Cincinnati, Ohio, and Oklahoma City. And we started the study in Oklahoma, where we these are all African Americans from these 4 cities. We looked at ancestry and typed ancestry, gave back the results to the individuals who were part of the study. And out of all the cities, the ones who felt that the science wasn't good, or that this was a hoax, were those who were in Oklahoma. And you know why? Because those in Oklahoma, those African Americans in Oklahoma, wanted proof that they were Native American. And so then when the genetics didn't prove or didn't support their folklore or their, how they were raised or whatever, or these ideas that they got about their family, when the DNA did not support that, of course, it became a hoax. This is a hoax. So the way I see it is this: if DNA provides some level of utility in your life, I'm sure you're going to say that you're going to value DNA testing. But if it goes counter to what you think most of the time people come back with, "Oh man, that's nothing, man. That's fake. That's phony. It's a hoax."
If DNA adds value, repeat that statement. If it adds value
if DNA testing adds value to you, then you're going to say this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You see what I'm saying? So when there's strong utility with the technology, we like it. So for instance, DNA technology for paternity testing, there's strong utility. DNA technology for forensic and crime scenes and getting folks out of jail, there's strong utility. Folks like it. But when you go counter in terms of family history, when the DNA doesn't support what you've been told or how you were raised or what you thought, then all of a sudden DNA technology is a hoax. Right. I mean, so we had 4 cities of African Americans. The only city who didn't think that DNA had value was the ones in Oklahoma who wanted to use the technology to prove that they were Native American. And then once that support wasn't there, then they said it was a hoax. But everybody else said this was great. They really appreciated it. They valued the DNA technology. But those in Oklahoma didn't, because, as I said, they wanted to have some genetic support for their so-called family history. I'll tell you one thing. When you go, so when we first started looking at Black women, African American women, we were looking mainly at the mitochondrial DNA. And mitochondrial DNA is maternally inherited. So, you get it from your mother, her from her mother, her from her mother, all the way back, generation after generation. And so what we found is for many of those mitochondrial DNAs, for African American mitochondrial DNA, these maternally inherited lines, 95% of them went back to Africa, to West Africa.
Were the Aborigines in America, the Native Americans, were they African people? Doc, and I see you smiling, you chuckling over it. So, yeah. Doc, look, so that's what I've been hearing. And so, Doc, please tell me, where, you know, with your findings, when you analyze the DNA of the Native American people, you know, here, you know, are they sub-Saharan African people?
No, they're not. If you're a student of science, right? Anthropology and genetics and all of that, all the evidence supports this migration out of East Asia across the Bering Straits into North America and then into Central and South America. And all of that stuff, there's artifacts, there's history, there's linguistics, language, and there's DNA. But I think what happened is, you know, we had a couple of scholars who, you know, these are great African-American scholars who wrote some really good pieces. They should be viewed as hypotheses, not fact, right? And so they came before Columbus. You know, this whole issue of the Olmecs and the Aztec being of African ancestry. I mean, those are interesting stories, but there's no proof to that. And also, to be honest with you, it's very disrespectful. It's very disrespectful to the Native American brothers and sisters for us to claim that they are of African ancestry. They know their history. And that's like somebody saying to us and trying to reshape or reinvent our history. We would get upset.
Absolutely.
So I don't play that with, you know, with some of these cats, because they, you know, I hear this debate all the time, and it's very disrespectful to Native Americans when you start talking about they are, you know, them and their family history and all of that they are of African descent.
Folks, I'm telling you, it's a huge movement online, Doc. The Aboriginal movement, where you got folks, you know, running around here claiming to be Native Americans and claiming to be the Aborigines. And I agree with you. It is disrespectful to the Native Americans and also to our sub-Saharan African ancestors. Right. It absolutely is. Right. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with you more, Doc.
You know, many Latino communities have a high proportion of Native American ancestry, especially like in Mexico and in Central America.
Absolutely. And I'm sitting here thinking about that history when the Spaniards came over and, you know, and conquered and colonized, like you said, down in the, you know, Mesoamerica and in South America. So like you said, the DNA is telling us this story.
Right.
You know, it's validating, you know, the history, Dr. Kittle. So absolutely.